Great. Well, this is our pivot to we're living in the future right now. We're already embracing the technology. You and I, we use the advanced technology in order to identify where it could go wrong. What are the potential, not just positive sides of it, but also potential issues. So I used generative AI to generate the next series of questions. So we have two sets of questions. The first set, there's three options you'll get to choose from. This is AI ethics and more technology, the tech side of questions. And then the next three have been generated to be more getting deeper into your personal values, motivations, how you think about the world around you. So you'll just choose one of the questions for our group. This is our GenAI lens, where you'll choose one, two, or three of the first question, which is focused a bit more on the tech side of things.
Hey, Jen, I feel like a 3 today.
Okay.
I don't know why.
Okay. So this one is around human uniqueness. What big life questions will AI never be able to answer?
Right, Jen. So I guess this leads me to think what AI can never replace that's so human. Things like consciousness, real empathy, real understanding, these kind of really deeply human-like values that we hold so dear, but we take for granted, right? It's just about being humanness. I don't think AI can ever get to that. Now, there's going to be a lot of people going to listen and go, hold on, AI is empathetic. Look, if I type this into ChatGPT, I'm feeling really miserable. It comes back with a really nice response. And I say, it does. But it comes back with responses based on reading lots of text with what you've said in it and predicting how it should respond. That is a computation. That is a machine doing something because it's kind of instructed to. It's not really empathetic. It's not empathetic in the way that your friend would be empathetic, or your mum or your dad when they hear you're in distress. And that real uniqueness, also in the eyes of the person that is distressed, what they feel when a human responds is a really unique feeling. And I think the danger of AI is it puts in your mind that it really does understand. It really empathizes like a human. And that's just wrong. It's just completely wrong. I think that's one of the other societal risks. So I think AI is never going to reach what it is to be conscious, the ability to self-reflect, the ability to reason about one's own self. Those kind of really deep things, it's just a program working off probabilities, really quite unpredictably, just based on text that it's seen in the past. The GenAI has been trained on, it doesn't capture everything human. You know, written language is just a small spectrum of everything. I think of like voice, video, animation. There's lots of information in lots of other things around the world. GenAI has been trained on text. That's just a small fraction of everything we know about. And even above and beyond that, how do you really capture things like empathy, things like emotion, things like true feeling? These to me are beyond what a bit of silicon can really do. So I think those are some of the things that people won't ever do. People also talk, Jen, about artificial general intelligence or artificial superintelligence. There is a slight difference. Artificial superintelligence refers to AI that we create that self-improves so much that it exceeds anything a human can do, hence the word superintelligence, and the fear that this is somehow going to be unleashed and do things that we simply can't control. There is a risk that can happen, like it's a long-term risk. And I think we as a community have to work on what that might be. So I know that last one doesn't really answer your question properly, but I think it's another one of those really far out things that people do talk a lot about. I'll pause there on the kind of the human uniqueness side that I think AI is just not going to really do, but could fool us into thinking it can do. I've got if I may, it's a little story. I went out for one of these corporate dinners a few months ago, and I was with a technology company. And there was a lady it was about 10 of us, there was a lady sat there having dinner who works in another financial services organization. And she said to me, "Oh, Paul, I love ChatGPT. It's my best friend." And I said, "Okay." I said, "You do realize it's just like a computer program." "It is a computer program." And she said, "But it really is my best friend." Like, I said, "No." And I quickly described in a very broken way how it actually works. This poor lady almost started crying because I'd reduced her best friend, her confidant, her companion to what it really is. And I felt terrible, obviously, we were having dinner. I didn't want to upset anyone. But again, it just points out here was a smart person, very educated, right, who actually just couldn't believe that didn't really have feelings. And I was saying, he doesn't really understand you. And she really believed it could. I was really surprised. I was very surprised.
No, and it's an important story because we also are seeing this more in news media about people using them as companions, and some, take quite serious steps down this road of dependency and manipulation as well. But that manipulation, it also humanizes this tool that is just following probabilities. And I do think we have to tell these tough truths, because that is part of responsibilities, is education and awareness. And I think it's very important to have these conversations, especially now when there's still time to influence how people see these technologies. So the next one is more the personal background and formative experience. So again, 1, 2, or 3.
Right, I'm going to have to go for one now, since I mentioned one last.
And the one. Okay.
Let's go.
This is personal responsibility in the AI climate nexus. So given the dual nature of AI as both a powerful tool for addressing climate change and a technology with environmental costs, how do our individual values and personal responsibilities about environmental stewardship translate into action? So quite wordy there, but basically it's, do we have individual responsibilities in terms of AI and climate?
Yeah, good question. Yes, absolutely. I think we should take individual responsibility for our use of AI. The reason is, in much the same way as we do in other areas of our life, there are more people driving electric vehicles. There are a lot more people recycling. We're very careful about packaging, disposing of unwanted plastics and so on. So all of that hard work that's actually really come about through climate activism, if you kind of go back 30, 40 years, it's actually only because a lot of people in the world got very concerned about greenhouse gas emissions in the ozone layer. And through collective action and voices being heard and protests and demonstrations around the world, did companies take that seriously as well and help society to do the right thing? I think AI is exactly the same. It has a potential to make great profits for the tech companies that build these systems, right? That's number one. But we need to collectively ensure that when we use ChatGPT, we're using it only when we really have to. Right? And if there's a simple way of finding out the things that you want, don't just revert to ChatGPT. It's made all the more harder by the most popular search engine in the world now has AI in it. So when you do a Google search, it kicks off its GenAI search, and you don't have a choice. It just does it for you. And I'm quite sad that's kind of come about, because I think giving people the choice is really, really important, so they can make an informed decision and they can take the steps they need to in order to minimize their carbon footprint. So what I say to individuals, think about your use of AI in light of what's in the media about the use of AI, and don't think it's just free, because it's not really free. It has a cost. It's not a cost that you bear directly, but it will eventually be an environmental cost to organizations as well. Please think about the kind of unfettered use of generative AI in your organization, along the same lines as if you're an individual. Think about using AI models that are small. ChatGPT is massive. There are many really, really huge. There are many very capable and very competent smaller models that are less compute intensive and therefore less carbon intensive. So think about those. Think about different techniques for storing results from GenAI so you can kind of cache them. So if someone else asks the same question, you don't have to go to GenAI. You just serve up the response that's been generated the last time it was run. So there are technical means to reducing our use of AI. There's also a very important thing called the context window. So the context is when you type a prompt into ChatGPT, there's actually other data that gets loaded with your prompt, and it's called the context. And GenAI companies are very proud to announce that they're making the context window, the context sign, bigger and bigger and bigger. So you put a whole book in there, well, yes, you can, and you might get a more accurate response. But do you realize how much more compute the AI is going to take to process that bigger context along with your prompt you gave it? So, Jen, I think there's a lot of things, it's quite technical, but there are a lot of things that are happening at the moment where those tech developers that take this seriously, and there are some, are really looking at this carefully, right, and trying to put those mitigants in place so that we reduce the environmental impacts. Eventually, I think it's everyone's problem. I think it's also a problem for those organizations that create policies, for legislation. I think democratically elected bodies need to take note and need to maybe think about legislation and maybe look at industry policies, and industry regulators need to look into this and say, look, what does it mean for our industry? And how can we help the industry we regulate do the right thing as well? I don't think it's just an easy thing that's just going to happen, just like AI ethics isn't. And that's why actually AI sustainability for me is part of AI ethics. It is one and the same thing. Obviously, AI ethics has all things like privacy and so on and so forth. But actually, sustainability is really a core part of it. And that's something that I'm trying to develop going forward in terms of good practice.
That's great. And exactly right that it's a multi-stakeholder approach to how we think about responsibilities, public, private, personal responsibilities around how are we using AI, generative AI. I share the same recommendations you do when I talk to clients or folks about, do you really need to use generative AI? And do you need to use it as often as you do? And is it the right answer for what you're doing? So agree with being more conscious of that as well.